everybody? What's good? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. I hope everybody out there had a great weekend, y'all. How's everybody's weekend? How's everybody's weekend? I can tell you about mine. We didn't do shit. We didn't do shit. As y'all know, we just came back from vacation last Tuesday. It was essentially, right? And we just been trying to get our lives back together over here back home. We just been trying to get everything. We just went and did some groceries. We didn't do shit over the weekend. I hope y'all had a lot more fun over y'all weekend because we were just doing groceries and trying to get back. We were just trying to recover still. It's still recovery mode. I promise you, I said it last week. That drive takes a lot out of you. I promise you, bro. It really does. It really does. But hey, man, we're back another week. Monday is here, and this week the Emirates Cup bracket. The brackets have been set, and they start playing this week. So we're gonna get into that. So let's get right into it. Thank you guys as always for joining me. Now, before we get started, please like, comment, and subscribe, because it really helps the channel out. And as I say that, asking y'all to like something before you watched it all the way through does sound kind of stupid, but please do it anyway. Just expect to like it. Maybe if you like it first and then watch, it'll be a lot more better. It'll be a much more pleasurable experience for y'all. So please go ahead and do that. I really appreciate it. We're trying to take this channel to the moon, as y'all already know. And thank you guys for joining me, and welcome to another episode of the Jayson Estrera Show, where we talk about basketball, sports, and any other topic that comes our way as accurate as possible. And like I just said, the Emirates Cup, semifinals or quarterfinals is going to be underway starting tomorrow. We only have one game tonight. And if y'all did not notice what the title of this episode is, we're hunting Hawks. We're going to try to figure out if we can pinpoint exactly how the New York Knicks can defend our arch nemesis, the Atlanta Hawks, mainly Trae Young. So we'll talk all about that in a little bit. We'll also be talking about how good is Nikola Jokic. I know he's been the topic over the last couple of years, honestly, but excuse me, as these big games keep rolling through and he has massive game after massive game, people are starting to question where he ranks all time. So we'll start talking about that a little bit later as well too. And an anonymous GM spoke about DeMar DeRozan, said that he does not have pop that boy Trae. Listen, bro. If I had any pull in the streets, trust me, that man's bus would break down. Them motherfuckers is not coming to the game. Yeah, we would get Trae Young out of there quickly. Perfect. We're going to talk about him in a second. And I was reading a whole article about him. So perfect. But yeah, an anonymous GM said that DeMar DeRozan's style of play doesn't, what is the word that they use? Hasn't driven winning. So we'll talk all about that. How true or not true is that? So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But where should we start? Actually, I saw this dumbass shit the other day, and listen, I know we talk about or we bring up Gilbert Arenas' podcast all the time, and rightfully so, right? When in this space that I'm in, you gotta be able to see the top dogs, right? You gotta pay attention to what all of them are doing, and aside from that, also getting a bit of their content, but they had this conversation the other day, and we'll do this very quickly because we've also spoken about Anthony Edwards quite a bit. But they spoke about making Anthony Edwards the point guard for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And their reasoning was because they don't really use Mike Conley effectively anyway. Talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, not just Anthony Edwards. And so they were kind of saying to just, the ball is always in Anthony Edwards' hands anyway, so to just let him run the point guard. Because Mike Conley is a glorified spot-up shooter right now in their offense. And I agree with a lot of things that Gilbert and that crew says, right? But this isn't one of them. The audio keeps dropping out. Let me see. Hello. Maybe it's just my connection. I can hear, but the audio constantly keeps dropping out for a few seconds, then coming back. I'm going to run a speed test real quick. Let's see what my speed test looking like. That should be like a thing where people run their like, oh, my internet is down. Wait, is this for real? The fuck? Why is that not working? I'm so confused. Huh, interesting. Well, I guess we'll monitor it. We'll see if it keeps happening in just 1 second. Actually, I'll pull it up on my phone. Let me see if it keeps happening. Hello. Well, I guess we'll monitor it. Actually, I'll pull it up on my phone. I don't know. I can seem to hear it right now. We'll see what happens in just a second. Sorry about that. I appreciate you, Elijah, as always. You're the fucking GOAT. But back to Anthony Edwards running the point guard for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think that's a really stupid idea. I think it's a really, really stupid idea. To think that you could just transition him. And I know he played point guard in college. But even with the ball being in his hand as much as it is already, he's averaging like 4 assists a game or something like that, 5 maybe. It's just not in his natural play style. And so I think you would be doing the team honestly a great disservice if you all of a sudden make him the point guard of the team. He is averaging 4 assists a game this year. And granted, I know getting assists isn't the only thing that comes with being a point guard, but it's not in his natural play style to play point guard. It's not. I don't think this is like a James Harden situation where James was always a natural playmaker, always liked to run the pick and roll. And he was always able to make that pocket pass. I remember there was a thing in the All-Star game. I think it was last year's All-Star game, right? Where was it Coach Finch last year drew up like an alley-oop play, and Anthony Edwards literally said, "I'm going to throw that ball into the stands." He is not a passing player. So I think to just throw him into the point guard position, could he do it over a couple years? Probably. But would it be to his strength and the team strength? I don't think so. And it led to them talking about, well, would they be better off having a Dante DiVincenzo in the point guard position to be the spot up shooter? And I think that's a little bit closer to the right answer. Like I said, I don't think Anthony Edwards should be their point guard. If anything, he's probably been their best spot up shooter. So if you can get him more spot up threes and less off the dribble threes, and when he is dribbling, he's attacking the rim, I think that's a recipe for success. But to just have him be the point guard all of a sudden, I don't think that's the answer, because I don't think that's how he plays. Now, let's talk about, actually, you know what? Let's get into the DeMar DeRozan thing really quickly here. An NBA exec. Here, we can read this together, y'all. An NBA exec. DeMar DeRozan's play hasn't driven winning, has led to him changing teams. Some NBA executives believe DeMar DeRozan's fit with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis has contributed to Sacramento Kings' sub-500 start to the season. According to ESPN's Tim Bontemps and Brian Windhorst, DeRozan has ranked second on the team with 22.7 points per game as the Kings began the season with a 10-13 record. One Western Conference executive told Bontemps, "He is who he is. What he does takes away from what both Fox and Sabonis do because they tend to operate in the same areas on the court." Interesting. Another NBA executive told Windhorst, DeRozan is a highly skilled player who is great to have in the locker room and a guy who you want to give the ball to at the end of a game. But his play hasn't driven winning. And it's something that unfortunately has been the case throughout his career and is part of why he's changed teams a bunch. DeRozan joined the Kings this summer after a 3-team sign and trade deal involving the Chicago Bulls and San Antonio Spurs. The trade marked DeRozan's third new team since he was traded by the Toronto Raptors in 2018. The Raptors went on to win the 2019 NBA titles. So, the key part is this, right? He is who he is. What he does takes away from both Fox and Sabonis do because they tend to operate in the same areas on the court. And then this quote talking about how he's a highly skilled player who's great in the locker room, and you want to give him the ball at the end of a game, right? So you want to give him the ball at the end of games, but his play hasn't driven winning. So a bit of a oxymoron there, right? If you don't think his play drives winning, then why would you want to give him the ball at the end of the game? But I wanted to look into this a little bit, right? Like, DeMar DeRozan, for all intents and purposes, has been a really good player in the NBA for his career, right? Let's take a look at this really quickly, y'all. There was a stretch where DeMar said he would be happy once he didn't score 30, so the streak will die, and so it will die out. And we traded him and won. You know what? As a matter of fact, you are actually the perfect guy to have this conversation with, right, Elijah? So, 16 years in the NBA for DeMar DeRozan, right? 21.3 points per game, 4.1 assists, 4.4 rebounds, 1 steal, 84% from the line, 29.6% from 3, 46.9% from the field. And that's 16 years, 1,118 games. So, on the surface level, right, we've all seen DeMar DeRozan. His skill is unquestionably very high. His mid-range has been compared to freaking, like Kobe and, Kawhi and Kyrie and, some of the best mid-range guys, right? DeMar DeRozan's mid-range game has been compared to these people. And like I said, when you look at his numbers, they're solid, right? His efficiency and his field goal percentage from the field and from 3 aren't great, but a lot of players don't shoot at an incredibly high clip. So, right, it is what it is, right? And you take that with his play style. But then I became curious, right? Because I was like, well, his numbers are one thing. What's his record as a player in the NBA? And when it comes to the regular season for his career, he's 582 and 548. So he's just above 500. Just above 500. And when you look in the playoffs, he's 25 and 38 in the playoffs. So he has a losing record in the playoffs. And, right, we have to tell the whole story, right? You know, on the Raptors, how many of those were against LeBron James? Like, let's just keep it a buck, right? Like, they just weren't beating LeBron James. So, LeBron James definitely has affected his playoff record, right? I also want to talk about when he got traded to the San Antonio Spurs, right? So when he went to the San Antonio Spurs, in that first season, LaMarcus Aldridge was 33 years old. Rudy Gay was 32 years old. Pau Gasol was 38 years old. And, you know, if anyone has ever heard about Greg Popovich's system, it takes a little bit adjusting to get used to it, right? I think, you know, I remember stories of Tony Parker used to get killed by Popovich because he was so demanding in their style of play. It was his way or the highway. And so, you know, you have to take that part into account. And then when he got to the Chicago Bulls, obviously the Lonzo Ball injury really hurt them, right? So that's the full picture of DeMar DeRozan, right? Solid numbers, about middle of the pack, right? At about 500 in terms of his career record, wins and losses. He's a hair above 500 in the regular season, under 500 in the playoffs. And then some of the situations that he's been in have not been great. And then, like I said, he has a set of skills in terms of the mid-range that's, you know, a lot of people would say is all-time, right? That he's so great with his footwork, and, you know, that's something that he gets praised for. And with all that being said, right, here is the conclusion that I have on DeMar DeRozan. In all of those situations, right, this GM says that his style of play doesn't contribute to winning, right? In all of those situations, should he have even been the first option as the best player on the team? Should he have even been the second option? And for me, the answer is a definitive no. He should have never been in those positions. When he went to San Antonio and they had this vision of him being the guy to lead that team, the unquestionable leader, the best player, he was never that. When he got to Chicago, it was the same thing. Oh, it was him and Zach. He was going to come in and da-da-da-da-da. And I think the reality about DeMar DeRozan is this. He's always been really good. He's an extremely skilled basketball player. It also hurts him that he never developed a three-point shot. That really hurt him. But more importantly, what's hurt him are these teams, right? This anonymous GM, your buddies, the other GMs in the NBA. The issue is they picked this guy up expecting him to be the best player on the team when if you really think about who DeMar DeRozan is, he's the third, maybe the fourth best player on a championship team. Let's just call that what it is. That's the role that he needs to be playing. Especially as his career has gone on and his style has never really changed. So, is it DeMar DeRozan, or are you guys just not evaluating this guy properly? Was it because some of you GMs saw some of the spin turnaround and, you guys thought he was the best player? Well, I'm sorry to break the news to you guys. That shouldn't have been the case. And when I look at these stats, we're putting the blame on him, which, he's kind of risen to a little bit of a star in the NBA, right? An all-star in the league. But we're not talking about a perennial MVP candidate, right? He was 11th at one point, 10th at one point, 8th, All-NBA 1, 2, 3 times. Like, we are not talking about a top 5 player in this league. But I think there are some people that expected that out of him, and there's your problem. There's your problem. Like Elijah, did you ever think he was gonna be like the dude? Did he ever come off like, oh, this guy would really go toe to toe with LeBron James when the time came to it? I just never felt like that. I never felt that way about DeMar DeRozan, and yeah, I don't know if that was just me, but I never looked at him like that. And that, like I said, that's not to say he's not a very good player, but especially his style of play. Excuse me. And then, like I said, when you talk about the situations that he was in after his Toronto days, the Spurs haven't been very good. That's how they ended up with Wemby. And then Chicago has been a shit show ever since Derrick Rose left. So, it just, it's like, we've spoken about this before. Sometimes you're just a prisoner of your situation, right? You can't help that part of it sometimes. And, unfortunately, wins and losses are a huge part of that. And like I said, I think DeMar DeRozan was just, I think some people were not hyping, but they were expecting too much out of him. When, if you really think about who he is on a championship team, he's probably the third, maybe the fourth best player on a team like that. So I think that's what you could chalk that up to. But I mean, the wins and losses was a little bit shocking. I'm not gonna lie to you. Excuse me, it was a little bit shocking. What does that say? He is a good player. I think a good comp is Klay. Obviously a level higher, but Klay is great at his role, but nobody would pick him first to win. Would they pick him as a piece? Yes. And exactly. Right? They won with Klay Thompson as the second best player on the team. And then they lost. But they were able to win, back to back when Klay Thompson was the third best player on the team behind a Steph and a Kevin Durant. Which, to your point, Elijah, those are the kind of situations that you need. Right? And let's be honest, the only reason why Klay Thompson was able to be the second best player on a championship team, let's call a spade, is because of how fucking good Steph Curry is. Like, he was next to a guy that is all time. Right? And so, when it comes to things like that, you like to your point, Elijah, like, you don't expect Klay Thompson to all of a sudden be championship. Like, if Klay Thompson went to that Chicago Bulls team with Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball, no one's saying, oh, Klay Thompson's about to lead them to a championship. Nobody's fucking saying that. If Klay Thompson went to the San Antonio Spurs with a 36 or 34-year-old Aldridge, 38-year-old Pau Gasol, nobody's saying he's taking them to a championship. Like, that was extremely well put. You took the thought right out of my brain, bro. You took the thought right out of my brain. That was literally the perfect comparison was Klay Thompson right there in that situation. Because even their numbers, I think, right, are kind of similar. Let's take a look at. I think even their numbers are relatively similar. Let me see. DeMar was at 21.3 for his career. Klay Thompson's at 19.4, but a way more efficient shooter. 2014, 2015, Klay Thompson finished 10th in MVP voting. What the fuck? I didn't even know that. That's funny. 11th in Defensive Player of the Year 2017, 2018. Interesting. All right, well, I think we got to the bottom of the DeMar DeRozan thing. Well, how about this? Let's go from something kind of negative to something positive, which is how good is Nikola Jokic? I mean, like, is this guy real life? He had 48 against the Atlanta Hawks, right? 48 points to go along with 14 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, 17 of 29 for the field, 58.6%, 3 of 6 from 3, 11 of 13 from the line. I mean, what more can you say about Nikola Jokic? And, I mean, I'll be honest with you. When you're looking at the other side, they had contributions from a lot of people on that team, on the Atlanta Hawks. But, Trae Young with only 15 points could have been the difference in that game, right? But obviously 141-111, it was a blowout. So I think the real question here is, where do you rank Nikola Jokic all time? Nikola Jokic, however the fuck you want to say his name. Where would you rank him all time? And I typically hate it when people do this, like, in the middle of someone's career. And maybe I'm just being a prisoner of the moment too. But when you just do the eye test, right? Just straight eye test. There are not a lot of players in general in the history of basketball that are much better than Jokic. I mean, like, we just call it what it is, right? I just quickly on a list. One was like, what was this? This was a 2016 list on ESPN, right? Just looking over, just to get some names. They had Kareem first, Wilt Chamberlain second, Bill Russell third, Shaq 4, Hakeem 5, and then we have Moses Malone, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, George Mikan, and I don't even know how the hell Bill Walton got to this list. But like, I'm pretty sure at this point you could shoot Nikola Jokic like near the top of the centers list already. Like, I don't think he bunny hops Kareem, right? I don't think he jumps over Kareem. I don't think he jumps over Wilt. I don't think he jumps over Shaq, right? But genuinely, everyone else, including Bill Russell, to me, is fair game. Like, you could debate him with everyone else, but those three guys: Kareem, Wilt, and Shaq. That's like a whole career thing that you gotta debate. But genuinely, I think everyone else is food for Jokic. Everyone else is food. And I've said this before, and I know people gonna hate me, right? I know. Like, and rest in peace to Bill Russell, right? But, like, for a guy that scored 15 points per game, 22.5 rebounds per game is unreal. But for you to shoot 44% as a big, I wish we could have seen him against a KG. Oh, yeah, that would have been real interesting for me, too. Honestly, both, pardon me, I would have liked to see Jokic against KG, against Tim Duncan, against Chris Webber, Dirk, and hell, just for defense, like a Kenyon Martin. I would have loved to see him play against all of those guys, like a Ben Wallace. I would have loved to see him play against all of those guys, because, you know, like, there was a thing where Kenyon Martin was talking about, like, what Jokic was doing, and they were like, "Oh, wow, do this," and I was like, I hear you. You're right, Kenyon, and I would never question you. Like, you guys played basketball, you guys were pros, and you guys are really known for this shit. But that guy is not chump, and on top of not being chump, Jokic is not an idiot. Like, he knows this game. And so whatever you might be thinking, he's probably already thought about it too. And that's what would make it really fun. And that's why I think he really is all time. Because, you know, people talk about, like, having the matchup with him. I think he's bigger than some people even give him credit for. Like, he's a massive human being, Jokic is. And on top of that, he knows how to use his body. There's some players that have size and strength but don't know how to use it. He knows how to use it. Now, his style might be a little bit more finesse, but he still knows how to use his body, and he's gotten better as the years have gone. He can make every shot. He can fade away off both shoulders. He has a step back. He could shoot threes. He could shoot floaters. And then that doesn't even get us to the passing. He can make every pass in the book. That's why, like real shit, like, there's only 3 guys that I think you would have a really hard time comparing him to. And that's Kareem, Wilt, and Shaq. Not necessarily in that order, but those are the only 3 guys that I think genuinely would be a really, you'd have a tough time comparing Jokic against. Everyone else, David Robb, it don't matter. Everyone else, you have a hard time. You would have a hard time. Now, I actually just thought about this too. Let me look it up. All right, so here are all the players with 4 MVP awards, right? Because the way the way the season is going, it looks like Jokic is going to get another MVP, which would put him in really incredible company, right? So the only players to get 4+ MVPs are LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, and Bill Russell. And out of those 5, so if Jokic were to get it, there would be 6. Jokic would probably be the 5th best player on that list out of the 6. And I've already said what I said about Bill Russell. But he would be the 5th out of the 6 players because he's not, I wouldn't put him above Wilt right now, or Kareem, or Mike, or Bron. Mike and Bron are the fighting for 1 and 2. So out of that list, Jokic would probably be 5th out of the 6. But wow, talk about just an incredible player. Yeah, he's definitely going down all time, bro. I think there's been some players that have been resistant towards it, I think, right? There's been some players that have been kind of hating on Jokic for whatever reason. But you can't take away what he's been able to do. Now, I've spoken about it a little bit when it comes to the Denver Nuggets, and that's the fact that he needs some help. He needs some help outside of Michael Porter Jr. this season for the Denver Nuggets. He's been the only one that's been playing well and very consistent outside of Jokic. Everyone else has been kind of up and down. I think Russ has been really good this season. Even just last night, what did he have? 11 assists to go with 9 points. I mean, he's just been really good this year. But yeah, he needs some help. I think their front office needs to do some things because Jokic needs some help. There's nothing around it at this point, right? I said, bro, I said it. I had a listen, bro. Listen, my guy. I promise you, we are never wrong, just early. Look, I promise you. Where's this? Look, peep. 13 days ago, Jamal Murray and the Denver Nuggets are letting Nikola Jokic down. Listen, bro. And we were talking about him maybe something needs to happen with Jamal Murray. You need to add to your game. You got to come back in better shape with a 6-pack. Something's got to happen. It can't just be the same player year in and year out. I think what's impressive about Michael Porter Jr. to me this year is not just the fact that he's scoring. He's been able to score, right? He's shown that. But what do we say? The way you get your points matter. And for a player that's had the stigma of being just a shooter, right? What do they call him? Michael, the ball stops Porter Jr. or some shit, right? Because he shoots it every time he catches it. He's getting a lot more touches in the paint. He's getting a bunch of more middies. His game is actually growing. Right? And to me, that's what's really, really impressive about it. It's not just the fact that he's scoring and he's helping Jokic out. It's the way that he's getting his buckets. It's shown improvement. But like I said, he's the only one that has shown that. Christian Braun has also been really good for this team. I don't want to just gloss over him. But he's not at the point where he's making such an impact to put them over the top, right? Or he can't be like the second star in line, at least not yet. But yeah, without. See, Michael, the possession ends here, Porter Jr. But hey, he's changing it. The media might not give him the credit, but I'll give him the credit. It's not quite like that no more. He might drive it now. I feel like now it gets like when you see the defenders rotating, right? You almost can't close out as hard, because if you do, he might drive. He might shoot it still, but he might drive. So just that might is enough, right? Because that's all you need in at the highest level of basketball. You just need a split second. So yeah, I gotta, like I said, I wanna give a shout out to Michael Porter Jr. because he's the only one that's trying to help Jokic out over here. Now, I want to talk real quick about another team that's been really struggling, in my opinion. Of freaking course, we play y'all tonight for the only game. Listen, the NBA knows what they're doing, right? The NBA, and we'll talk about the scheduling when we talk about the Knicks versus the Atlanta Hawks, but scheduling matters, right? Scheduling matters. But we'll talk about the Phoenix Suns really quickly, and then we'll talk about my New York Knicks. And we'll talk about them playing against your Toronto Raptors tonight. Why not? So, really quickly right here, we have... So last night, the Phoenix Suns lost to the Orlando Magic 115-110. And it was another game without Kevin Durant. Devin Booker had his 25, 8 of 21, 1 of 5 from the field. Tyus Jones had 21. Bradley Beal had 18. And then on the other side for the Orlando Magic, like, they didn't even have Franz Wagner, and they still won the game. And so my question is this a case of, is Kevin Durant really just that good? Or is Devin Booker just not that guy? Because, like, as soon as Kevin Durant went out this year, right, there was a sudden drop in the play of the Phoenix Suns. And, ever since, I'm trying to look at their records here really quickly. Ever since Book has been in there, right? 2015-16 is when he got drafted. 2015-16, 23-59. 24-58 the year after. 21-61 the year after that. 2018-19, 19-63. 34-39 in 2019-2020. Right? 51-21. Let me see who was on this team. And was that Chris Paul's first year? Yeah, of course it was. That was Chris Paul's first year on the Phoenix Suns. So Devin Booker never even had a winning record in the NBA until Chris Paul joined them in the 2020-2021 NBA season. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losing seasons. You know, like we talk all the time about, you know, winners and losers, and this guy didn't even have a winning record until Chris Paul joined the team. And again, it's not a case of, oh, this guy is a bad basketball player, because and I'll be honest, this is, especially when it comes to Devin Booker, no disrespect to DeMar, that is so far from the case. Right? Devin Booker is a really, really good basketball player. Oh, 100%. I don't think this is necessarily a case of whether or not he's a good or bad player when it comes to Devin Booker, because we've seen him score 70. We've seen, like, he could really, really play basketball, right? But when it comes to something beyond the numbers, when I watch Devin Booker play basketball, maybe this is just a me thing, right? He doesn't put enough pressure on the other team possession to possession. Not the same way Kevin Durant does, for example, where it's almost like there's a gravitational pull to Kevin Durant. No matter where he is on the basketball court, he forces you he forces your attention on him. And so, as a player that's not getting 7, 8, 9, 10 assists a game, how is he able to impact winning? Because he draws so much attention, Kevin Durant does. You could say it's his game, it's his size, whatever it is, Kevin Durant has that impact. And I just don't see Devin Booker having the same kind of impact on the game the way Kevin Durant does, or even like the way a Steph Curry does. Steph Curry draws so much attention as a little guard in the NBA. That's why I say him making or missing shots don't even matter sometimes, because you have to go guard him no matter what. And it takes 2 or 3 people to do it sometimes. And he's going to run you until you're out of energy. But when it comes to a Devin Booker, he just doesn't have those things necessarily. He doesn't have a pace that like imposes his will on the other team, right? Meaning he plays at such a fast pace that it constantly puts pressure and applies pressure on the team, right? He's not like Luka's really slow, but he's always touching the paint. And like all of these little things, I have a tough time finding what that is for Book. But like I said, he's not a bad player at all. At all. And so when you all of a sudden are in a situation where he needs to resort back to this number one best player kind of guy, him and Bradley Beal are the ones that have to lead a charge. They're struggling because they don't have a Kevin Durant there. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a part of it is the fact that Kevin Durant is not there and he really is that great. But a part of it is also like maybe Book is more of a number 2 option in the NBA on a winning team. Right? Maybe that's just what it really is, right? So we're having tough conversations today, man. And I'm stuffy. I appreciate y'all for hanging out with me, but holy shit. Now, We got to talk about my New York Knicks, y'all. We have to talk about my New York Knicks. Now, let me see. We play out tonight, right? Monday. New York Knicks. Are we in Toronto? Yeah, we are in Toronto. Of course we are. Oh, we won the last 3, the last 4. Man, 1, 2, 3, 4. We won 4 of the last 5 against y'all, bro. Elijah, we won 4 of the last 5. We about to spank y'all tonight. We about to spank you guys tonight. And look, this is the funniest thing right here, right? This is why some like scheduling is funny. Atlanta Hawks get beat the fuck up by the Denver Nuggets Sunday night, right? Now they got to think about this shit all day today. Play the Knicks tomorrow for a cup game. Meanwhile, the New York Knicks, when was their last game? When was our last game? Was it Saturday probably? I don't remember when we lost to Detroit Saturday. Don't let that go wild. Hey, yo. Foul on the play. Technical foul. That's a technical. You get a tech. Go sit on the bench, you freaky ass motherfucker. You need to sit on the bench. You need to go sit down and think about what you said. Yeah, actually, we lost to Detroit Saturday. So, but listen. We had Sunday off. We get a tune-up game before the Atlanta Hawks. Right after Atlanta got beat the fuck up. So when he get going. See, why you gotta keep going though? It's always that one guy that gotta keep going. But hey, we might like the Knicks. We might have a tune-up game against the Raptors tonight. Thank you, Lord, because y'all already know how I feel about going against the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young hates the Knicks. He hates us. He hates every last one of us. He hates all of us. And when he hates a team, he gets a buff apparently. Like if it says New York on your chest, he gonna try to fuck y'all up. And so that's what we gotta deal with in our cup game. Now, I do want to give credit to Trae Young because his efficiency this year when it comes to passing the ball has been really, really great. I mean, just like really, really great. Where is he at? At 12? He's like at 12 assists a game this year, right? I think he's at 12. Take a look at it right now. He's at 20.9 and 12.2 assists per game, and I'm pretty sure he's also leading the NBA, right? Yeah, he's leading the NBA, and so does that work in our favor, right? The key to this New York Knicks Atlanta Hawks game, and the thing about this game too is I think it you know when it comes to this story, right? Like there's this arc. Dennis Schroeder, hey man, I love some Dennis Schroeder. He's really, really good. He can really, really hoop. He don't get enough credit either for just being a great basketball player. Like Dennis don't do nothing exceptionally well. He just does a lot of things really good and is smart. You know ball, my friend. You know ball. But when it comes to Trae Young, he's historically killed the New York Knicks. And the last time that we played them, right, if it wasn't for Zachary Visage, If it wasn't for Homeboy getting like 33, we probably don't lose that game against the Atlanta Hawks, right? The rookie went and got 30 on us. And so if Trae Young is going to be a little bit more passive, or he's just going to be looking to pass some more against the New York Knicks, I'll be honest with you, I think that goes in our favor for the New York Knicks. Because his aggression and his attack is what really kind of sets things off. Right? Him going against the crowd, him taunting the Knicks. It helps not just him, but the whole team. And so if he's not playing like that, will it have the same impact? Because Trae Young, especially against us, he hits those 2s and 3s that feel like they're worth more, right? He'll hit the 3 while the crowd is chanting, and it'll feel like 6 points and not just 3. But like I said, if he's not the one getting some of those buckets, will it have the same impact? And like I said, they've been playing well this season. He's been incredible. But in this matchup in particular, to win one game, it matters. And the other factor for the Atlanta Hawks, I think, is going to be, I keep forgetting his Dyson. Yeah, this Dyson Daniels, because he's obviously going to be guarding Jalen Brunson. So the key thing to look for in the first quarter of the game tomorrow, or on Wednesday, sorry, right? We played them on Wednesday. Yeah, we played them on Wednesday. The key thing is going to be, are they going to let them play? Are they going to call an early foul on Dyson Daniels? Because if they call an early foul or two, then you'll know exactly what kind of game it's going to be. They're either going to take him out of the game or they're not. And that's something to watch out for in the first quarter, right? Will Dyson Daniels pick up a foul early in the game? That's something definitely to watch out for. So to me, those are the two keys for the Atlanta Hawks, right? They're two guards. Will Trae Young be aggressive or will he keep passing the ball? I personally think he needs to score a little bit more to beat the New York Knicks. And Dyson Daniels needs to try to take Jalen Brunson out of the game. With that being said, the counter for the New York Knicks is going to have to be OG Anunoby and probably our best player of the year so far, Karl Anthony Towns. I think those are going to be the two players that are going to have to play well for us to beat the Toronto Raptors. And the reason being, Cat has size, obviously. But like if Capella's on him, or if like Capella's on him or whatever, we can try and pull Homeboy out, right? We could try to pull him out of the paint. And really try to cause havoc driving into the lane, hitting shots. So Cat can really do that. And I've said it before this year. I think OG Anunoby is our X factor. Jalen Brunson is going to have good games and bad games. Karl Anthony Towns is going to have good games and bad games. The person that settles everything is truly OG. Because we know what we're going to get from Hart. Mikal has been, he's been, I think, solid enough. He could obviously be better, but solid enough. And the guy is really OG that can make everything work, right? He's the one that can pick up the pieces that people are dropping. And so those are my keys to the game. Karl Anthony Towns and OG Anunoby have to have a good game to beat the Atlanta Hawks. And for the Atlanta Hawks, Trae Young needs to have a good scoring game. And knowing him, he's probably going to have a good second half against the New York Knicks. Can we limit that? Or is he going to pass the ball some more, which I think goes in our favor? And will the referees allow Dyson Daniels to be physical with Jalen Brunson? If so, how physical? Right? So those are going to be the questions to watch out for on Wednesday. Now, very quickly, I wanted to talk about the Dallas Mavericks versus the Oklahoma City Thunder, because this is obviously a rematch of the Western Conference Finals last year, which the Dallas Mavericks obviously won. And oddly enough, I think both teams at this point are very different than where they were at that Western Conference Finals. Both teams are. The Oklahoma City Thunder obviously now have Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein, right? Those are the two players that they have added. On the Dallas Mavericks, they've added Klay Thompson, but they've also went through a stretch recently without Luka Doncic where they played well. And so with that recent stretch without him, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, you have to be feeling pretty good, because what you envision is a mashup of those two teams, right? The teams without Luka and the team with Luka. And if you can mash those two teams up together correctly, sky's the limit, because you have one of the best players in the league in Luka Doncic with a team that was finding success with Kyrie. And so this is a rematch, but it really is a battle of who's gotten better up until this point. Now, the easy answer would be the Oklahoma City Thunder. Not just because of their record, but because they've been consistent. J-Dub has emerged as the second best player on this team, clearly, but also just a up-and-coming star. But they also lost Chet, right? And so, like I said, it's easy to say that the Oklahoma City Thunder at this point have gotten better over the Dallas Mavericks. And it'd be easy to choose them. But this is a game of matchups. This isn't a series, right? And when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks versus the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think the Mavericks match up really well against them, because they have size, because they have versatile players, right? PJ Washington had probably his best series of the playoffs against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Then you have Luka, who has size and mobility, a Klay Thompson that has size, and then Kyrie obviously is going to do what he does. So even with the best defense, I do like the Dallas Mavericks in this matchup. The question is, are they going to keep making mistakes like they've been in the last couple games with Luka coming back? Or are they going to clean some of it up? I think this game is a lot closer than people are anticipating it to be. And I think, I want to say, man, I'm on the fence about this one. I want to say the Mavericks move on and then they lose to the Warriors. Because I'll be honest with you. I think if OKC plays the Warriors again, I think OKC wins. I'll be honest. So I think Dallas is going to have to get through OKC. And then I think the Warriors beat the Dallas Mavericks. But I'm going to pick the Mavericks. I think the Mavericks beat the Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow night. And move on to the semifinals. Now, the other game is going to be the Orlando Magic versus the Milwaukee Bucks. And again, you get one of the best defenses in the NBA of the last 2 years with the Orlando Magic, going up against a Milwaukee Bucks that has kind of found their footing a little bit, just a little bit. But more importantly, a Giannis that's been on fire. And again, this is a situation where it really depends on the matchup. Because the Orlando Magic are a great team defensive team. Their team defense is very good. And so when it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks, who have kind of leaned towards Giannis, right? It's kind of been a one-man show, and Dame kind of just like supports him right now, right? It's the best way I could kind of describe their style of play. If they can't stop Giannis, if one guy can't stop Giannis, and now you're forcing your team out of the other team out of position because they got to help out, all of a sudden that team defense starts to crumble. Right? Because if one guy has to overextend to try to help out on a Giannis drive, it puts everyone in rotation. And if the other person that's catching the ball is Damian Lillard and you're not in position, you're going to have a tough time. And that's kind of where I see this matchup going. I do expect the Milwaukee Bucks to win this because, one, I do expect them to make it to the finals. But, two, I do think it's a bad matchup. They're not going to be able to stop him. They're going to be physical. And I'm expecting Giannis to go to the free throw line like at least 13 to 15 times this game. And I think the Milwaukee Bucks win because he's going to, like I said, he's going to put a ton of pressure on the defense, on the great defense that the Magic have. And it's going to force openings to happen. And as long as Damian Lillard, plays his timings right and does what he's supposed to do and hits his shots and win his isolation matchups, the Milwaukee Bucks, I expect, should win this relatively easily. So for tomorrow night's game, I have the Dallas Mavericks moving on and the Milwaukee Bucks. What do y'all think, man? What do y'all think? Before I get up out of here. That's what I think is going to happen. And then we'll do predictions Wednesday when we're back on Wednesday. We'll talk all about these games. But what do you think? W analysis? W or L analysis? I thought that shit was kind of heat. I'm not going to lie. I thought I was spitting. I don't even gas myself for real, but I thought I was kind of spitting there low key. I was watching a lot of game film on this shit. Y'all better eat it up. But that's going to do it for me for now. Before I get out of here, one more time, please like, comment, and subscribe. All that good shit. It really helps the channel out. We're trying to take this to the moon, as y'all already know. And as always, I appreciate y'all. Y'all are the fucking best. Elijah, you're the GOAT. I really appreciate y'all. As always, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Y'all could have been anywhere on the internet, but y'all were here with me. And I appreciate you for that. So thank you so much. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Have a great Tuesday. I'll see y'all back here on Wednesday, man. Peace out, peace out, peace out. Y'all are the best.